Now, from CBS News Miami, this is Facing South Florida with Jim DeFede.
Welcome to Facing South Florida. I'm Jim DeFede. Since taking office, Governor Ron DeSantis has been unrelenting in waging his so-called culture wars. But with this year's budget, the governor has now decided to wage a war on culture itself. Before signing the state's $117 billion budget, the governor vetoed two grants programs totaling $32 million that fund arts and culture nonprofits across Florida. More than 1,600 nonprofit groups will be hurt by these cuts across the state, including many here in South Florida. The Perez Art Museum, the Miami City Ballet, even the Holocaust Memorial will feel the pain of these cuts. Now, the governor gave no reason for why he decided to wipe out these funds. After the veto was announced, I spoke to former Miami Beach Mayor Dan Gelber and Michel Hausmann, the artistic director of the New Miami Drama Theater Company. I started by asking for Michel's reaction to the veto.
I was in shock for a variety of reasons. First of all, $30 million, which was already, the legislator already reduced the budget from 60 million to 30 million. But 30 million in the budget of the state represents 0.03%. So it's negligible for the state economy, for the budget, but it makes a huge impact for not only, I mean, I would always defend the intrinsic nature of why culture is important, but some people, that argument, you know, might not take me anywhere, but at least the argument of why it is economically important, right? I mean, not only, you know, do we hire 100 Floridians every year, not only, you know, do coming to a theater include driving, paying for parking, have 90% of our patrons have dinner before or after, not only our direct economic impact, but then there is, you know, the argument of who we are as a state. There is, you know, after the pandemic, so many people have moved from New York, from Chicago, from California, because, you know, there's people like Mayor Dan Gelber made sure that Florida is a community that thrives with arts and culture. So what message are we saying, not only to future residents, but to corporations who are looking to move to Florida, that the state does not value the impact of the arts organizations?
Dan, pick up on Dan. Wait. Let me get Jan in here. Dan, jump in on that point about, you know, the attractiveness of the state of Florida to others.
Look, there's no world-class community that does not have a highly evolved and supported arts and culture community. You can name one. And it's interesting because I know the governor always talks about how people are moving here because of the tax rate. We have had low taxes in Florida since I was born over 60 years ago. We've never been a high tax state. That's not new. What is new, however, is all the people coming from New York and California and Chicago. They're coming here because we now have those amenities that they are accustomed to from the places they're from. So why not come here and get all those great amenities? And art and culture is one of those amenities. It is first and foremost going to be an economic attraction to people who now say, well, I can come to Florida, I can buy a home here, I can live here, I can bring my business here, and I don't have to worry about whether there's going to be a ballet or a theater or Miami New Drama or things like that. I mean, that's part of the amenities that builds a community, and there is no world-class community that doesn't have that. And I dealt with for years, and we're still always going to deal with it. The party tourist that comes here. The best way to increase the kind of tourist you get here is to project out who you are. And a cultural tourist is always your best tourist because, frankly, they spend a lot and they don't, they don't cause a lot of havoc. So for me, this is who we are. And it's an economic issue as much as anything else.
I want to stay with the economic argument, but before we do, I don't want to just give up on the intrinsic value of the arts. Michel, talk to me about that. What does art bring to us as a society? What does it bring to us as a community?
It's right. It's a lifeline of the community. It's a place where the community gathers to reflect or to be active about our issues. We're very proud that Miami New Drama is a theater company that only produces new work, and most of the new work is about our community. Right. The last play we did was about the McDuffie riots and Edna Buchanan's investigation of the police cover-up. So we are constantly in conversation with our community, telling the story of our community. And it's, an informed community, a community that is aware of where we are from and that is able to experience its history in an artistic setting. Is a much richer community. But even if we were not dealing with the history of our community like we are, the arts are the legacy that we give to the future. It creates quality of life. I mean, why, when we look at the great moments in civilization, Elizabethan England, ancient Greece, Florence with the Uffizis, it is always culture, right? What ends up telling the narrative of that community. And just striking a veto with a pen makes significant hardship. I was just thinking, the Holocaust Museum, right? Like in the middle of the highest spike in anti-Semitism in my lifetime, and I'm sure in Dan's lifetime as well, the Holocaust Museum funding from the governor was veto. What message are we sending?
I just want to stay with you for a second, Michel. You said that, I know that your program was taken to zero in terms of state funding. You were slated to receive $150,000. And I think it's important to remember this did go through a process. Like the legislature did review this. This did go through committees. It wasn't as if the number was just thrown out there. You submitted an application, you submitted documents as to why you wanted this money. The legislature put this line item in the budget, and now you've been cut that $150,000. What impact does that have for you going forward? What percentage of your overall budget did that represent, and how do you survive from this time forward?
Our budget is roughly from $4.5 to $5 million. So while 150,000 might look like a smaller amount, a smaller percentage, after the pandemic, the reality of the nonprofit cultural world is significantly complicated from before. Inflation has had an impact on production expenses, on personnel. So $150,000 represents, two full-time salary position. It represents half of my education budget. It represents about a third of one of our productions. So it's not something that we can easily make up. And, this was informed to us just before our fiscal year would start. So it's really hard for us to try to find a way to raise an additional $150,000. So most likely it's going to look like we're going to have to make some tough choices.
And Dan, while Michel's organization can probably cope and find a way because it is on the larger side, where this really hurts is on those smaller groups, those smaller folks who were truly far more dependent on these state grants that they've received. What's going to happen to them, do you think?
Well, look, after the pandemic, even before the pandemic, a lot of these cultural groups are thinly capitalized. They're not, no one's in it for profit. They're in it to present something that they care about to the community. So none of them were sort of, a lot of them were on shoestring budgets to begin with. And after the pandemic, especially, they got hurt in every way, the way the restaurant industry did, because of course they're relying on visitors and people coming in and to watch. So they're all hurting now. And this was really, it wasn't a gut punch, it was a gutting to some of these organizations. And almost 100,000 people in Florida are in this area, and it has an impact everywhere because there are other restaurants, as Michel was saying, who service them. And let me just say this, and I think it's really important to remember, the community we live in today is, if you like it, it's because of this. It's not coincidental that Art Basel the New World, the Miami City Ballet, the Arch, Miami New Drama, all of these came about really in the last 20, 25 years or the last 5 or 10 years. And we've watched this critical mass of art and culture come in to Florida and in South Florida especially. And at the same time, we've seen all these other people flock here, diversifying our economy, bringing different businesses here. And the idea that the governor didn't see that, it's so short-sighted, it's so gratuitous, and it seems, I mean, I don't want to say it's mean-spirited because I can't figure out why he did it. He didn't really say why he did it. So we're just left thinking that, you know, this was just something he did, you know, for some kind of fun, I guess, or something.
Well, let me make this argument. I'm sure there are those out there, whether the governor makes this argument or not, but I'm sure there are people out there who will watch this and say, you know what? If the arts are so important, then let those who want to attend the arts support them. Why should I have to support the arts when I'm never going to the ballet, I'm never going to the opera, I'm never going to the theater? You know, what benefit, why should I pay for it? If it's so important for you, you guys should pay for it.
By the way, it's not, the argument isn't that it's a great amenity I want to enjoy. The argument is that it changes the fabric of the community so that we have all these other people coming here. So the entire economy is humming. And by the way, it's a little false to say, oh, you know, other money could be, I mean, we spent millions on migrant flights from Texas to the Northeast and on legal fees to fight drag queens in Florida. It's not exactly like we're prioritizing our $118 billion budget in an austere manner. This is not these are not frivolous things. These are economic motivators. These are economic engines for our state in our future. Because if you simply want to be a party state, or you simply want to be a low salary state, a low wage state forever, then you don't do any of this. But if you want to diversify your economy, raise everybody, bring the kinds of tourists here who spend money and don't create havoc, but also bring the businesses here who really can afford higher wages. This is why you do it, because there's no city in the world that we want to be that doesn't have a thriving, supported cultural community. And in all of these places, they are supported by the state or by local municipalities. My community, at over, I think about 60%, voted to tax themselves to spend $159 million on the arts. So they get it. They get it. The governor doesn't.
When we come back, is there a new ghost candidate scandal brewing on Miami Beach? We'll take a closer look. Stay with us.